9.2 Background on Islam. Since the time of Muhammad, Islam has had a huge impact on world history. From Arabia, Islam spread rapidly throughout the Middle East, across North Africa to Spain, and across Central Asia nearly to China. In addition to sharing a common faith, Muslims also belong to a single Islamic community called the Ummah. The Islamic community blended many peoples and cultures. Islam now has more followers than any religion except Christianity. 1 out of 5 people in the world are Muslims. Most people in the Middle East and North Africa are Muslim, but Muslims live in nearly every country of the world. In fact, the majority of Muslims are Asian, and Islam is the fastest growing religion in the United States. Islam, Judaism, and Christianity have much in common. Members of all three faiths are monotheistic. All three religions trace their origins to the prophet Abraham. Their scriptures or sacred writings all include such figures as Adam, Noah, Moses, and Mary, the mother of Jesus. Muslims believe that all three religions worship the same God. As you learned in Chapter 8, Muslims consider Jews and Christians to be people of the book. The Jewish Bible, called the Torah, corresponds to the Old Testament and the Christian Bible. The New Testament of Christianity includes, among other writings, the Gospels that tell of the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. Muslims believe that these holy books, like the Quran, came from God. The Quran states that God earlier revealed the Torah and the Gospel as a source of guidance for people. For Muslims, however, the Quran contains God's final revelations to the world. They believe that its messages reveal how God wants his followers to act and worship. In the rest of this chapter, you'll learn more about the ideas that have shaped the Muslim faith. The Quran and the Sunnah. Two foundations of Islam are the Quran and the Sunnah. Through the Quran, God describes his laws and moral teachings, or the straight path. The Quran holds a central position for Muslims everywhere, guiding them in all aspects of their lives. The Quran contains passages that Muhammad is believed to have received from the angel Gabriel. Muhammad and his followers recited and memorized these verses. As Muhammad could apparently not read or write, scribes wrote down these passages. The Arabic of the Quran is notable for its great beauty. In about 651 CE, Caliph Uthman established an official edition of the Quran. He destroyed other versions, and the Quran used today has not changed since then. Muhammad called the Quran Allah's standing miracle. Muslims honor the spoken and written Quran. They do not let copies of the sacred book touch the ground or get dirty. Most Muslims memorize all or part of the Quran in Arabic. Its verses accompany Muslims through their lives from birth to death. The Sunnah, the practice, is the example that Muhammad set for Muslims during his lifetime. What Muhammad did and said in a certain situation has set a precedent or guide for all Muslims. For instance, Muhammad told his followers to make sure their guests never left a table hungry. He also reminded children to honor their parents when he said, "God forbids all of you to disobey your mothers." For Muslims, the Sunnah is second only to the Quran in religious authority. Within 200 years after Muhammad's death, thousands of reports about the Prophet had traveled throughout Muslim lands. Scholars looked into each story. They placed the stories they could verify into collections, called hadith. These accounts provided written evidence of Muhammad's sunnah as seen in his words and deeds. They continue to have this role today. The most basic acts of worship for Muslims are called the 5 pillars of faith. The Quran provides general commands to perform these 5 duties. The Sunnah explains how to perform them using Muhammad's example. Let's look next at each of the 5 pillars. First pillar, Shahada. The first pillar of faith is Shahada, which is the profession or declaration of faith. To show belief in one God and in Muhammad's prophethood, a Muslim says, "There is no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God." The first part of the Shahada affirms monotheism. Like Christians and Jews, Muslims believe that one all-powerful God, whom they call Allah, created the universe. They believe that the truth of one God was revealed to humankind through many prophets. These prophets include Adam, Noah, Moses, and Jesus, who appear in Jewish and Christian scriptures. The Quran honors all these prophets. The second part of the Shahada identifies Muhammad as God's messenger. According to this statement, Muhammad announced the message of Islam, which was God's final word to humankind. The meaning of Shahada is that people not only believe in God, but also pledge their submission to Him. For Muslims, God is the center of life. The Shahada follows Muslims through everyday life, not just prayers. Parents whisper it into their babies' ears. Muslims strive to utter the Shahada as their last words before death. Students taking a difficult test say the Shahada to help them through the ordeal. In addition to the reality and oneness of God, Muslims accept the idea of an unseen world of angels and other beings. According to their faith, God created angels to do his work throughout the universe. Some angels reveal themselves to prophets, as Gabriel did to Muhammad. Other angels observe and record the deeds of each human being. Muslims also believe that all souls will face a day of judgment. On that day, God will weigh each person's actions. Those who have lived according to God's rules will be rewarded and allowed to enter paradise. Those who have disbelieved or done evil will be punished by falling into eternal hell. The second pillar is called Salat. The second pillar of faith is Salah, daily ritual prayer. Muhammad said that prayer is the proof of Islam. Salah emphasizes religious discipline, spirituality, and closeness to God. Throughout Muslim communities, people are called to prayer 5 times a day, at dawn, noon, midday, sunset, and after nightfall. A crier, called a muazzin or muaddin, chants the call to prayer from the tall minaret of the mosque. Before praying, Muslims must perform ritual washings. All mosques have fountains where worshippers wash their hands, face, arms, and feet. With a sense of being purified, Muslims enter the prayer area. There they form lines behind a prayer leader called an imam. The worshippers face the Qibla, the direction of Mecca. A niche in the wall marks the Qibla. People of all classes stand shoulder to shoulder, but men stand in separate rows from women. The imam begins the prayer cycle by proclaiming, Allah Akbar, God is most great. The worshippers then recite verses from the Quran and kneel before God. While praying at a mosque is preferable, Muslims may worship anywhere. In groups or by themselves, they may perform their prayers at home, at work, in airports, in parks, or on sidewalks. A Qibla compass may help them locate the direction of Mecca. Some Muslims carry a prayer rug to have a clean spot to pray. Some make additional prayers by using prayer beads and reciting words describing God's many characteristics. Unlike Christians and Jews, Muslims do not observe a Sabbath or day of rest. On Fridays, however, Muslims gather at a mosque for midday congregational prayer. The worshippers listen to the Quran reading and the Imam's sermon. After saying prayers together, some return to their regular business. For others, Friday is a special day when people meet with family and friends. The third pillar is called zakat, also known as almsgiving, giving to those in need. In chapter 8, you learn that Muhammad told wealthy people to share their riches with less fortunate. This practice remains a basic part of Islam. The word zakat means purification. Muslims believe that wealth becomes pure by giving some of it away, and that sharing wealth helps control greed. Zakat also reminds people of God's great gifts to them. According to the teachings of Islam, Muslims must share about the 1/40th, 2.5%, of their income and possessions with their poorer neighbors. They are encouraged to give even more. Individuals decide the proper amount to pay, then they either give this sum to a religious official or distribute it themselves. Zakat helps provide for many needs. In medieval times, zakat often went to constructing public fountains so everyone had clean water to drink, or to inns so pilgrims and travelers had a place to sleep. If you walk down a busy street in any Muslim town today, you will see the fruits of zakat spending everywhere. Zakat pays for soup kitchens, clothing, and shelter for the poor. Orphanages and hospitals are built and supported through zakat. Poorer Muslims may receive funds to pay off their debts. Zakat provides aid to stranded travelers. Zakat also helps other good causes that serve the Muslim community. For instance, zakat can cover the school fees of children whose parents cannot afford to send them to Muslim schools. It can be used to pay teachers. Zakat is similar to charitable giving in other faiths. For instance, Jews and Christians also ask for donations to support their houses of worship and charitable activities. The fourth pillar is called Sam. The fourth pillar of faith is Sam, or fasting, going without food. Muslims were not the first people to fast as a way of worshiping God. Both the Old and New Testaments praise the act, but the Quran instructs Muslims to fast for an entire month during Ramadan, the 9th month of the Islamic calendar. According to Islamic teachings, Ramadan was the month that God first revealed his message to Muhammad. Muslims use a lunar calendar, one based on the phases of the moon. A year in his calendar is shorter than the 365-day year. Over time, as a result, Ramadan cycles through all the seasons of the year. During Ramadan, Muslims fast from break of dawn to the setting of the sun. Pregnant women, travelers, the sick, the elderly, and young children do not have to fast. During the day hours on each day of Ramadan, Muslims do not eat any food or drink any liquid, including water. It is considered time to eat when a person standing outside cannot tell a white thread from a black thread. Muslims then break their fast, often with dates and other food and beverages, as Muhammad did, and perform the sunset prayer. After a meal shared with family or friends, Muslims attend special prayer sessions. Each night, a portion of the Quran is read aloud. By the end of Ramadan, Muslims have heard the entire holy book. The holy month of Ramadan encourages generosity, equality, and charity within the Muslim community. Fasting teaches Muslims self control and makes them realize that what it would be like to be poor and hungry. Well off Muslims and mosques often provide food for others. During Ramadan, Muslims also strive to forgive people, give thanks, and avoid arguments and bad deeds. At the end of Ramadan, Muslims remember Gabriel's first visit to Muhammad. A celebration called Eid al-Fitr takes place when Ramadan ends. People attend prayers, they wear new clothes, decorate their homes, and prepare special foods. They exchange gifts and give to the poor. The final pillar is called Hajj. Fifth pillar of faith is Hajj, the pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. In the Islamic year's 12th month, millions of believers from all over the world come together in Mecca. All adult Muslims who can do are expected to make the Hajj once during their lifetime. By bringing Muslims from many places and cultures together, the Hajj promotes fellowship and equality. In Mecca, pilgrims follow in the footsteps of Abraham and Muhammad and so draw closer to God. For 5 days, they dress in simple white clothing and perform a series of rituals, moving from one sacred site to another. Upon arrival, Muslims announce their presence with these words, "Here I am, O God, at thy command." They go straight to the great mosque, which houses the Kaaba, as you've learned in chapter 8. Muslims believe that Abraham built the Kaaba as a shrine to honor God. The pilgrims circle the Kaaba 7 times, which is a ritual mentioned in the Quran. Next, they run along a passage between two small hills, as did Hagar, Abraham's wife, when she searched for water for her baby Ishmael. As you may remember, Muslims believe that a spring called Zamzam miraculously appeared at Hagar's feet. The pilgrims drink from the Zamzam well. Later, pilgrims leave Mecca to sleep in tents at a place called Mina. In the morning, they move to the plain of Arafat to pray until sunset, asking God's forgiveness. Some climb Mount Arafat, where Muhammad preached his last sermon. After spending another night camped in the desert, they reject evil by casting stones at pillars representing Satan. Afterward, pilgrims may celebrate with a 4-day feast. In honor of Abraham's ancient sacrifice, they sacrifice animals, usually sheep or goats, and share the meat with family, friends, and the poor. Then, having completed the Hajj, they don their own clothes again. Before leaving Mecca, each pilgrim circles the Kaaba 7 more times. Muslims around the world celebrate this farewell day as Eid al-Adha. 9.9 is Jihad. The word jihad means to strive. Jihad represents the human struggle to overcome difficulties and do things that would be pleasing to God. Muslims strive to respond positively to personal difficulties as well as worldly challenges. For instance, they might work to become better people, reform society, or correct injustice. Jihad has always been an important Islamic concept. One hadith, or account of Muhammad, tells about the Prophet's return from a battle. He declared that he and his men had carried out the lesser jihad, the external struggle against oppression. The greater jihad, he said, was the fight against evil within oneself. Examples of the greater jihad include working hard for a goal, giving up a bad habit, getting an education, or obeying your parents when you may not want to. Another hadith says that Muslims should fulfill jihad with the heart, tongue, and hand. Muslims use the heart in their struggle to resist evil. The tongue may convince others to take up worthy causes, such as funding medical research. Hands may perform good works and correct wrongs. Sometimes, however, jihad becomes a physical struggle. The Quran tells Muslims to fight to protect themselves from those who would do them harm or to right a terrible wrong. Early Muslims considered their efforts to protect their territory and extend their rule over other regions to be a form of jihad. However, the Quran forbade Muslims to force others to convert to Islam. So, non-Muslims who came under Muslim rule were allowed to continue practicing their faiths. Although the Quran allows war, it sets specific terms for fighting. Muhammad told his followers to honor agreements made with foes. Muslim fighters must not mutilate the dead bodies of enemies or harm women, children, old people, and civilians. nor should they destroy property, orchards, crops, sacred objects, or houses of worship. 9.10 is Sharia law. The body or collection of Islamic law is called Sharia, the path to be followed. It is based on the Quran and the Sunnah. It covers Muslims' duties towards God. It guides them in their personal behavior and relationships with others. Sharia promotes obedience to the Quran and respect for others. In Medina's Muslim community, Muhammad explained the Quran and served as a judge. After his death, the caliphs used Quran and Sunnah to solve problems as they arose. As the Muslim empire expanded, leaders faced new situations. Gradually, scholars developed a body of Islamic law. By the 12th century, several schools of Islamic law had emerged. Islamic law guides Muslim life by placing actions into one of 5 categories: forbidden, discouraged, allowed, recommended, and obligatory. Sometimes the law is quite specific. Muslims, for instance, are forbidden to eat pork, drink alcohol, or gamble. But other matters are mentioned in general terms. For example, the Quran tells women to not display their beauty. For this reason, Muslim women usually wear different forms of modest dress. Most women cover their arms and legs. Many also wear scarves over their hair. Sharia also covers Muslim duties towards other people. These duties can be broadly grouped into criminal, commercial, family, and inheritance law. In a Sharia court, a qadi, judge, hears a case, including witnesses and evidence. Then the qadi makes a ruling. Sometimes the qadi consults a mufti or scholar of law for an opinion. Islamic law helped Muslims live by the rules of the Quran. By the 19th century, however, many Muslim regions had come under European rule. Western codes of law soon replaced the Sharia except in matters of family law. Today, most Muslim countries apply only some parts of Islamic law, but Sharia continues to develop in response to modern ways of life and its challenges.